Hi everybody, it's Mike from Fish in the Mid-South. Today we're going to take a look at the Piscifun Alijoz 400. This is the XH model, which just means it's an extra fast retrieve. So it comes in a very, very nice box. In here you'll have your instructions, how to use the drag, storage, drag power, the drag alarm, clutch system, all that kind of fun stuff. And then on the back is your parts diagram. So you get top layer of foam. You got the reel, which clearly has already been out of here before. You get another piece of foam on the bottom. You got the form-fitting piece in the middle, and of course there's your tool for helping to disassemble the reel. So we'll go over the specs first. So this again is the Alijoz 400. This is the XH, so it's the faster gear ratio. Has 9 bearings, 8 of which are going to be ball bearings, and 1 of which is going to be the roller bearing / anti-reverse bearing. It has a line retrieve rate of 42 inches per revolution of the handle. The drag on this, the maximum is 35 pounds. The reel weighs 14.5 ounces. If you're using mono, you can expect to put on about 270 yards of 70 pound. And if you are looking for braid, about 165 yards of 80 pound. And of course the diameters are listed there. So here's the reel. And one of the first thing I like to do before I take apart a reel, this one is overspooled. I will fix that. I recently added a mono shock leader to this using an FG knot, and I didn't take off enough of the braid before I did that, so it's extra special. So let's go ahead and roll this up a little bit. Okay, so what I do here is I put my tape, you can use masking tape, I use electrical tape because that's what I had handy. And then we'll just reel this in. And try to take off enough at the end here. So we can tie it down. And that just keeps the spool from unraveling when you take the reel apart. So we'll start off by taking off the left side plate. Use your little tool and you can loosen up this screw. Now this screw does not come all the way out. It's captured and has a little spring on there, so see how it goes in. So on the Alijoz 300 we did a review on recently, or take apart. So if you didn't get to see that, go take a look at that. This one actually rolls upward instead of downward. Okay, so here is your magnetic brake. Then, like I say, this reel is overspooled, and I will fix that. Just not right now. So that's why I'm having an issue getting it out, is because it's so thick around the center. Okay, so here's your spool. This clip on there, I don't know its purpose in life. If you take it off, I could not get the spool off easily. And you have this gear that is, I don't know if it's pressed on, it feels plastic, nylon, whatever you want to call that. Yeah, so it's a separate piece than the spool itself. And what that gear does, you've got this piece right here that comes in, and then you've got your bait clicker. So you can see if we push it in, pushes that little guy in. So you put your spool in there, and there's no sound. There's your bait clicker, and that's how that works. So that's what that little piece is for, and that's what that gear is for. Of course, this is your magnetic brake system. As you rotate the knob, it brings these brakes closer and further. Let's see if I can get that on camera. coming in and out. So it just moves these magnets closer to the spool to help slow it down, give you that extra control. So that is the left side plate. I've already done this video and somehow managed to not record it. So I'm not going to lubricate anything. There's no point. I've already done that. So you've got your one spool here. That's your spool bearing that's on the shaft. And that we'll set aside as a one-piece assembly of its own. Okay. Now it's time to start taking off parts over here. So we've got our retaining nut. So what this does is it actually just holds this retaining, the screw retainer in place, or the nut retainer in place. Take that off. And there's our nut retainer. And you can see it's got grooves in there, and that wraps around the nut so that the nut cannot move while that is installed. That way you don't end up with the handle coming off while you're fishing. Just unscrew the nut. And then we take off the handle. And under the handle, you've got that washer, little thin washer. Now, unlike the 300, the Star Drag just picks up. That's all it does. No grooves inside of there, nothing, but it does have that square hole. We can see that. Okay. You got spring. And then you got this nut, which is a 13 millimeter. So we'll just turn that off. And one thing I do want to do on this, let me go ahead and put a little bit of grease on here. This is just because it felt just a little, felt like it used some lubrication as this nut comes off. So just keep those threads nice and clean. Okay, we get this guy off, and as you can see, there is a rim around it, and that is where the spring goes in. And then we'll get that square piece on the drag washer, or the drag knob, I should say. And so that goes in, and that's where you get your tension from. So that is the Star Drag. Of course, this is our spool tension cover. As we tighten that against this end of the spool, it puts some pressure on there so the spool doesn't free spool as fast. Okay. Then we've got a set of 4 washers here. There's 3. Let's get the 4th one. There's our 4th one. So you've got 2 flat washers. They look identical. And then we've got these 2 spring washers. So as you can see, if it's upside down, it can roll back and forth, whereas if it's right side up, it can't. So these go back to back so that these 2 pieces fit together tight on the outside, and on the inside you've got a gap right there that gives you a little bit of spring action. And then of course you got these 2 washers that go on either side. So it goes in like a stack like so. Okay. Under here you then have the bearing for the main shaft. And then you've got 3 screws to remove to take the side plate off. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. So you do have these screws here. You got a screw on this side, and well, when I take this off, you'll see it on the other side. That holds this face on, this bottom part of the face. And then these 2 E-clips here, and then this one. So these are the 2 shafts that the line guide ride on, and then you've got your worm gear here. Okay. Let's go ahead and remove these screws. All three of these screws are the same, unlike on the Alijoz 300. Another thing is this one is countersunk, so that it actually fits all the way down into the hole and doesn't protrude up into this area at all. Whereas on the Alijoz 300 it did protrude up, but of course it doesn't matter because you got the lip on the spool anyway. So as we take this last screw off, we want to make sure we just kind of hold everything together here. It's not going to like blow apart on us. But when you take the right side cover off, you want to pull the side cover off of the frame. You don't want to hold it like this and pick it up, because then all the pieces fall out. Okay. So let's go over our parts and pieces here. So we've got these two springs. We've got the pinion gear. We've got the pinion gear retaining collar here. This attaches, of course, to the thumb bar. That's why you got some spring action here to kind of rotate everything around. The main pieces you're going to want to take off here are this set here. Okay. Just like on the Alijoz 300, you have this piece here that holds this bottom set in place. And it has two little soft, thin metal fingers. So one goes on either side of this gear. So under here, these plastic gears, that is your worm drive gears. Those are. And then the pinion gear retainer, pinion gear retainer comes off like so. Of course, the larger part that has just the X on it, that goes down because that engages with the end of the spool where we have that little pin there. So that just kind of fits in like so. And that's what allows the pinion gear to turn the spool. Okay. If we look at this piece, and it's hard to see because there's enough grease on it, but there is a metal. You see the metal under here? Only one side has that metal, and that metal faces upward. On this collar, you slide that back in, and you slide all this back into place, making sure that the pinion gear goes down that hole and that sits flat. You get your two springs. Go on just like that. Now, this is the bottom piece. We talked about this washer here. Goes on. And it's keyed here so it fits like so. And then we've got our bottom drag washer. The rest of this is the drag stack for the other side. So the first thing we're going to pull off, this is a cone-shaped washer. The bottom of it has a recessed area here in the center. And as you can see, I've already used this reel and it's got a little bit of drag washer particles because that's how these work. So you get, this is all carbon fiber. So you've got a carbon fiber gear or a washer that is fitted to this scallop, and you've got a flat washer. Then for fun, we're going to do that all again where we have, so you get this piece that is, I'm not sure how it attaches, but it's attached to the gear. I can't tell you how heavy this gear is. It's got good weight to it. This is not a cheap, flimsy gear. Okay, so you put on your drag washer, your first drag washer. Like so. So it goes metal, drag washer, metal, drag washer. So there's another one of those flat washers. And then the carbon fiber on top of it. So metal washer. And then, or not. Let's say washer on top of drag washer. You got the metal washer here, and then you've got the drag washer again. So we put those back on. Hopefully they go on as a nice little set. There we go. If not, you may have to put them on piece by piece because they are keyed. That interfaces well with our pinion gear. We take up, missed a piece, sorry. This little guy, we love him so much. So again, this goes, so one side of it goes above and one side of it goes below this scalloped washer, and then just fits on top of this pin. If you do happen to take the pin out, I'll show you. There's that. So this doesn't move. It's molded or machined that way, but the long edge, the long end of that piece is what goes down into the hole here. Okay. And then we go back to, here's my little piece, and put that on. Make sure we get again one finger on top, one finger below that scalloped washer. And what that does, and you can see here, once I get it into place properly, sorry, every now and then we have a comedy of errors. It's kind of fun that way. We'll pull this guy back off. Okay. So we get this. So again, this one is indexes onto, there we go. Indexes onto the shaft, and then we've got this piece. It goes both one finger above, one finger below, and this keeps your reel from going backwards. So you can go like so, and then when you try to return, it catches. So that's what that little guy does for you. So again, we'll put our big drag stack back on here. And if it does kind of unseat like this, just make sure that everything recesses down into that plastic part. You get all your drag washers down in there. We put our cone washer, again, the rounded part goes up, and that goes into place like so. Now, let me pop these out so we can see. Okay. So on the Alijoz 300, this particular piece was different on both sides. This is the same, so it goes either way. And then, of course, you've got your main shaft bearing. So you can put that back in here, or put it on the shaft like I did. So you fit this little screw down into the hole. You fit this down here. And you get that on there, and then you make sure you get your make sure that's okay. That does not sound right. Let's see what we've got going on in here. Okay. We have that in place. We got our bottom drag washer. sure that piece is seated well. All that's definitely where it needs to be. Pop this back on. And put our washer back on. Okay, and then we'll put our side plate back on again. Push that down. Let's put our bearing on there. Again, we're going to hold it tight. This pin again, the long side goes down. That sits perfect. I think I may have just spread these fingers just a little bit when I was getting it on here. Just push those together just a little bit, and then we'll set this into place. Okay, so that all sits, and that is keyed in place. Everything's good there. That sounds good. Now that's going to give a little bit of a whine because of the fact the spool's not in there and all that fun stuff. Now if I turn the shaft appropriately, then I was hoping that wasn't going to happen. We'll put it on there and send that into place, and then push our bearing home. Yeah, sounds much better. Okay, we get that in place. Now is as good a time as any to go ahead and put this cap back on before we put the handle on, because the handle's not going to be there to build ours. Okay, then we've got this stack of washers. We've got the flat one. We've got those two spring washers. Then we've got another flat washer. And since I've already, we'll see if having put these back, all this together, will actually allow it to go on there better or worse. We're going to find out. Or easier or harder, I guess would be a better way of putting it. So you don't really have to have that 13mm screw or wrench. You can use the star drag actually to pull that off. There's the knob. Put the spring back in place. Put a little tension on here so that the let's get it on further. Okay. So while we're at this point, let's go ahead and put our screws in. Again, we've got one down here at the bottom rear. Got one in the bottom front. Again, all three of these screws are indeed the same size. And then we've got the one that goes right here under the spool. Like so. And we'll tighten that down. Okay, so we've got our drag nut there in place. Go ahead and slide on the star drag knob. And there we go. So that's tightened down. Then we've got this flat washer. Goes right here. And when we put on the handle, and we want to push that down so that we get this nut on further. And we take the nut and we put it on and we snug it down finger tight. Then we grab this retainer. And so it's keyed so it can go on here to lock that nut into place. So I didn't tighten the nut down because I wanted to put that piece, the retainer on first. So I've got it as close as I can get it. And then we'll just tighten her up just a little bit with the little tool there. And put in the retainer screw. And now we're just down to putting the spool back in. And again, the tightness is because somebody, we're not going to name names, has too much line on there right now. And then put this on. Again, we're going to be pulled up a little bit and down we go. So that does that. And then this screw is what locks that into place so it doesn't rotate. So we got to see the inside of this reel. Got to see how it's made. And that ticking noise that you hear now is simply the tape rubbing against as it goes by. So if you get one of these reels and you decide that you want to take yours apart and you're like, where does this go and how is it oriented? Now you got a video that can show you how to do that. So I've used this reel a number of times. I have not pulled in any big fish with it. I got this so that I could use heavier line. I think I've got 65-pound braid, and then I got 60-pound mono and a little bit too much of that, as you know. And this is my big fish reel. I'm going to use it both saltwater down in Pensacola to go after the beasts that have broke my line when I used smaller line, and also for catfish paired with my extra heavy rods. And it's been a smooth reel. I like the quality of it. I realize that Piscifun is a budget-oriented brand for the most part. They've got some spinning reels that are really inexpensive. I have not tried them, so I can't talk about their quality. However, I've had the Alijoz 300 as well as the 400. So here they are side by side. You can see the difference. Big brother, little brother, right? And then I've also used the Chaos XS 50s and 60s. I've been really happy with those as well. So this reel, if memory serves, and I'm old, so there's that. I want to say that on Piscifun's website, they list this reel as the regular price being $199. It's on sale pretty much all the time for at most $149. I got these, I think, for $89, I think is what I got them for. I picked up 2 of these. And you can get them, of course, at piscifun.com. That's Piscifun.com. You can also find them on Amazon, usually less expensive on Amazon. Just a heads up on that. I'm not sponsored by them. I've been happy with the bait casting reels that I've used from them. I've not tried their spinning reels. I've not tried their rods. So I can't comment on those, but I can comment very specifically on the Chaos and the Alijoz line, and I've been very happy with both. So, you're thinking, 90, 100, 120, 140 bucks. It's kind of expensive for a budget brand reel. But here's what I'm going to tell you about what I found out about, in my research around, because I do a lot of that. So this Chaos XS 60 is about the same size as a 6500 Abu Garcia. Okay. There's some things I'd change about it. I don't really like the bait clicker being over like this. It just feels a little chintzy. Otherwise, they're very solid reels. You can wear these out just like you can wear out any reel. But for a third the price of an Abu, at around 50 bucks on sale, these are a good value. Okay. So the other thing is you can find almost everybody has a round bait caster of this size. You've got varying degrees of quality, whether it be the Salula Gang or Ancient Mariner or other brands that have come out with their own round bait caster. So you can find those under generic names, not necessarily the same as the Piscifun, but very similar looking. However, I can't find anything that remotely competes in this size of a low-profile baitcaster. I do love my low-profile baitcasters, and I got these specifically for their line quality. I always wanted the 400s. 300s, I got them because they were on sale for, I want to say, 70 bucks at the time. And I just couldn't see spending $149 for these without ever having touched one. They are a good quality reel. One thing that you're always going to be concerned about when you buy from some of these more budget-oriented brands is, what's the parts availability going to be like? Well, this Chaos XS 50 has been around for, or 60, this is the 60, but they've been around for, I want to say at least 4 years. They had a Chaos before that wasn't the XS. And the XS, the Chaos XS is supposed to be an improvement over that. So anyway, I've been happy with these. I'm real happy with them. I like the fact that it's a low-profile bait caster that holds a significant amount of line. So that's why I have these. I like the bait clicker. And again, the extra capacity that the 400 has over the 300. The 300 is going to be good for casting, 25, 30 pound mono. It says it holds 190 yards at 15 pounds. So, you can go up to 20 or so pound. Whereas with something in the 200 size range, like a Corrado, etc., from Shimano, it's not going to hold a whole lot of line when you start getting up in the 20 pound plus range for mono. Of course, sprayed is thinner. Anyway, that's what I've got. If you have one of these reels and you like them, let me know. If you don't like them, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate you taking time out of the day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.